So okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. This is a protracted struggle, like all struggles. We have to understand that. We have to appreciate the fact that a struggle is not a wedding procession. It's not a straightforward path. It's not something that you say, I set off at 8 a.m. and I am going to arrive at 2 p.m. That's not the way the struggle is. Because the people that you are struggling against, the system that you are trying to overhaul, is an entrenched one, is one that has been there for more than 80 years. It was started by the British. They handed it over to their puppets, and their puppets have institutionalized it. And they have weapons, they have intelligence, they have a system, they have a civil service, they have a state. They are trying to protect this. So you don't expect to walk in and walk out. So that's the first thing we have to appreciate. These people look at it as if you are taking food literally from their mouths. They believe they are entitled to whatever it is that they are doing. They believe they have a right to loot. They believe they have a right to rule you, not govern you. They believe they have a right to arrest you, torture you, do every bad thing to you to preserve their power. So when you get involved in the struggle, you have to be aware of these things. And you have to be aware that it's not going to end overnight, that it can take years. Some of us fought against Moi. It took years, it took decades. It's not something that happens overnight. When you go to South Africa, Mandela was in jail for 27 years. Sometimes success does not come in our lifetime. Be prepared for that. Be prepared that you can die in the struggle. If you're not ready for that, you're not part of the struggle. We must appreciate that. So that's number one. There is nothing wrong with it. Two, we have to affirm the cause for which we are struggling. We cannot doubt the rightness or the justness of our cause. We cannot say removing Ruto is a bad thing when we know the horrible things that he's doing against the majority of Kenyans when he's in power. And therefore, the next question is this. How then do you work with that system, with that government, with that regime? How can you work with a regime that is torturing and killing innocent youth, that the only crime they committed is to carry water and a flag and march on the street because they wanted to stop Finance Bill 2024? How can you justify that? How can you even ask the question? How can you say, can we work with the government for the time being? How do you work with them? Because essentially what you're saying, can we surrender to this government? Let them torture us, let them abduct us, let them impose all these severe conditions, let them weaken us so that we would not have the strength to resist in 2 years or 5 years or whatever. So there are things we can rule out of hand. Then the next thing is, how can Ruto must go as a rallying call be bad? You see? Because if you want the system to go, you have to have a rallying call. And the rallying call that was conceived of and coined was Ruto must go, because he's the symbol of that system. That cannot be bad. I think we would be making a lot of progress if we think critically about what we are saying here and come out with concrete things that we can use to be able to achieve the goal. So Amenya came up with a freedom charter similar to the South African. It is not an ANC charter. The South African Communist Party was there. The trade union movement was there. The Black consciousness movement was there. The Pan-Africanist movement was there. Azapo was there. There are so many other movements. ANC is just the one that got the Western attention because they didn't want to emphasize the other movements because they had already compromised the ANC. But it was, the Freedom Charter was for all South Africans. So that's a very brilliant idea, that can we come up with some charter? That's a good one. How then do we use the 13 points that Muthiora was talking about, or how can we incorporate them into this? Or we could just develop some brand new concepts or ideas that can rally the movement. Lastly, what concrete steps do we need to take to organize and to mobilize enough people to be able to remove Ruto from power? Let's not run around this. We know what we want. We want Ruto out of power. I know people fear that, oh, you will be charged. There is nothing wrong, there's nothing illegal to say we want Ruto out of power. There is nothing unconstitutional to say we want to rally as a movement to remove Ruto from power. The Constitution does not say that you can only remove Ruto from power through political parties or through an election. That is not understanding the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution does not speak about elections. It only speaks about your sovereignty. And we are sovereign. And we rule ourselves. We govern ourselves. And Ruto is not in the Constitution. UDA is not in the Constitution, nor is ODM. It's just the sovereignty of the people. And we are Kenyans. So I urge us to think concretely around the mechanics. And if we have to come up with a team, let's come up with a team, this team to come up with concrete ideas so that we can move this thing forward, so that we are not just a talk shop. Thank you.